I'm Bianca Rist, and this is from a podcast that I was on called Profession Session, and just a quick clip talking about the importance of long-term rentals in today's market. Everybody wants to put real estate under like one market. There's the macro and the micro. Not only add 1 0 to your net worth, but you can add 2 zeros. How you guys do it? If I can do it, you can do it.
So that was talking a lot about what to look for in a flip. I'd also like to talk about a little bit more about how what you're looking for in your real estate career has kind of shifted into, you said it's kind of shifted into a little bit more long-term rather than the flip focus. So talking about more rentals, setting up like a lease for a family, maybe starting with single family houses. Is that kind of how you shifted from there?
Yeah, so because the market is switching right now, and I just don't want to get into a situation where with short-term rentals, you know, let's face it, we're in a recession. The media doesn't like to talk about it, but we are, and it's going to get worse. And if people aren't traveling for a specific period of time, that could be an issue on the short-term rental.
Right.
Another issue on short-term rentals could be, you know, a lot of people, Airbnb, you know, changing their algorithms, and people, a lot of states and cities that have control over rules.
Been hearing a lot about this actually.
There's many cities where a lot of people are losing their Airbnb privileges due to state regulations or that county, right? They're switching those rules.
It's things like counties dictating that you can only rent it a certain portion of the time, or you have to live in it personally a certain portion of the time compared to how much you rent it out. Stuff like that, right?
Yeah, and if you don't follow those rules, like, you could have jail time.
Yeah.
And I just don't want to be in a situation where the county is dictating what I'm going to do now. Does that mean that, you know, politics or, you know, change in rules or whatever can't change the flipping game or can't change the long-term rental game, especially for people that are in states where, you know, maybe they're tenant friendly. Like I know, like Florida, we're landlord friendly, but states like New York is more tenant friendly. So it's easy for those tenants to get away with things, and it's not as easy for the landlords to evict people as it is in Florida. Right. And so you can get into those situations where politics and rules and state and things like that play a big difference. But the difference is like just increasing your chances in general.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like just mitigating your risk just that much more.
Understanding the state of the market and kind of pursuing the least risky avenue of that
for that time, which is yeah. So which is why I say long-term rentals, because a lot of people are going to need places to live,
especially with rent getting so out of control.
Rent is going so high. Interest rates on purchasing is pricing a lot of people out of the market, where they were able to purchase so much house for this amount of money, but because that interest rate is higher now, they can afford less of a house, and they don't want to do that because it's not their dream home, so they'd rather rent. And that also allows a lot of those renters to actually, or the landlords to actually have more quality renters as well, because these are high income earners that they just can't purchase the house that they want. They, you know, January of this year, they were able to purchase a house for $750,000, but now they're able to purchase a house for $400,000, and it's not up to their standard. And so a lot of people that are renting now are now forced, or people that wanted to buy are now forced to rent. But now that's a quality renter because they could afford a $750 before, they just can't now.
Yeah. So it's a good time to be in the long-term rental game, is what you're saying.
Great time, and the rents are going up.
Which is good.
So it's unfortunate for you know,
for the renters.
For renters, but they have to have a place to stay.
Yeah.
They have to, and they're not going to come down that much more.
Yeah.
Over time. So if you're looking for something, just evaluating that as well. There's the 1% rule on long-term renting. So like, meaning if the house is $100,000, you want to be able to rent it out for at least $1,000
a month.
Yeah.
Okay.
$200,000, $2,000. So that's a very generic rule, and it could change based on the market as well. But
I hadn't heard that before. That you
It's a
would
good
call
point.
that applicable to today's conditions?
yeah,
Okay.
but that number is actually higher now. So it's not 1% now. And some times it's maybe a little bit more, maybe like 1.5%. So you're seeing a very interesting change, but I think even that's going to change because in some markets it's the opposite. It's no longer 1%; it's less than 1%. So
Okay.
it just depends. And I was saying this to somebody earlier, where everybody wants to put real estate under like one market, one umbrella, and there's the macro and the micro, and you really have to go like based on your individual location of where you're at because
Yeah.
Jacksonville, Florida market is completely different than LA, completely different than Chicago or New York, right? So just playing to that and making sure that you know that market as well and sticking to those rules, so to speak.